Hello students. In our previous session, we have completed the chapter Morphology of Flowering Plants until the seed. We are not yet done with the chapter, right? But we have completed all the parts of the angiosperm plant body right from root until the seed. See, I had told you in the beginning itself, in this chapter, it is important for you to learn how to draw the diagrams of different parts of a plant body. But it is also very important to practically visualize or see the various parts of the plant body. Morphology of flowering plants or morphology of plants is not a topic to learn just by sitting in a corner of your room. Nor you can learn this topic just by reading a book. This will require very profound practical knowledge. That means you need to go to the field, visit different plants, and personally you have to check and see the different parts of the flowering plant. Okay? But in today's condition, in today's situation, because of the pandemic, we are not able to do all that. Nor we are able to bring different parts of the plant body to the class and show you. That is why I have prepared a presentation wherein you can visualize many plant parts and understand in a deeper way. Okay, so in today's session we are going to consider right from the beginning, from root until the seed, all different parts of the plant body we will visualize, and later we can move on to the next aspect of the chapter, that is regarding the taxonomy, wherein we are going to study two families as per the syllabus. Okay, as per the syllabus which has been prescribed for the year 2020, you have got only two families of the angiosperms. So according to the NCERT syllabus, there are three families, but because of the pandemic, 30% of the syllabus has been cut down, and as per the new syllabus which is recently published, that we are having only two families. It is very important for you to have the complete knowledge of morphology of the flowering plants in order to understand the families. Okay, so this is a class which will also give you a revision of all the aspects you have learnt in this chapter, right? So in the morphology of flowering plants, you have learnt about root, stem, leaves, flowers and fruits, and also the seeds. Okay, let us first start with the root. Okay, so you know what is a root, and different types of roots you have learnt, that is the tap root and the fibrous root. So you can see in the case of the tap root, there is one mother axis, and from which the branches will arise, and these branches can be called as secondary or tertiary roots, right? So it is this region where you can see, in this region there are no branches. So this is the root cap, and that root cap is covering the meristematic region and region of elongation, and all this is region of maturation, and that is why you can only see the branches of the roots from the arising only from the region of maturation. Whereas in the case of the fibrous root system, the branches of the roots, they arise directly from the base of the stem, right? So you are not seeing any primary axis or mother axis as we see in the taproot system. Yes, so this kind of fibrous root system is seen in the monocot plants, and this can be observed in dicot plants commonly, right? And you can see this is the diagram that you also have seen in the textbook, I hope, right? So showing the different regions of development in the root body, right? So root cap is seen, the thimble metal cap like structure, meristematic region, elongation region and maturation region, and also showing the root hairs, right? See, this picture shows you the development, the same regions of the development is shown by showing the different types of the cells. See, you can see the young mature cells in the region of meristematic activity, also called as area of cell division, because meristematic cells are always young and they keep on dividing and dividing, right? And that is why it is also called as area of cell division. And this region you can see much bigger cells than compared to this one, little bigger cells, area of elongation, and in the area of maturation, completely matured cells, and also only from that region you can see the development of the root hair. right? So that shows the different types of cells present in different regions, and you can also see what the root cap that surrounds the area of cell division or meristematic region, right? Then see, root modifications, different types of root modifications for various purposes. See, this kind of root modification you are seeing in banyan tree, this is called as prop roots in banyan tree, and this is a kind of root modification you are seeing. So this is a branch of the stem. From the branch of the stem, you see the roots arising and they are reaching to the ground. And this part, it looks as if like it is a stem of the plant body. The main stem is here, right? And many roots, many prop roots, they are arising from the branches of the stem. They reach to the ground and they establish themselves there, and once again they look as if they are the stem itself. So this is the modification of the root for mechanical support. Another example for the mechanical support, root modification for mechanical support, is this one, that is the stilt root in maize plant. You can see this is the base, this is the soil, and the roots are below, right? And this is the nodal region. See, this is node, this is internode. From the nodal region, from these two nodes, you can see the production of the roots, and eventually they grow to reach to the soil surface, so that this slender plant body, very thin plant body which grows very tall, up to 10 to 12 feet high, so that can be given mechanical support with the help of these types of roots called as stilt roots, right? Remember the examples always. Next one, this is the root modification for gaseous exchange or exchange of gases, or also called for root modification for respiration. Yes, so this is seen in Rhizophora. The example for this one is Rhizophora, and such roots, they are called as Pneumatophores. You can see these plants. Can you see these plants? Those plants are there, and these are all the roots. So the underground roots of these plants, they are present below the ground level, and those roots which are present below the ground level, they are producing these projections above the ground level like this. Okay, so these projections are called as what? Pneumatophores. And all these pneumatophores, they have got small pores on their surfaces, so that they can absorb the air, the fresh oxygen from the air. Right? So this helps the plant body to purify or to oxygenate the salt water. You can also see the sea there, right? The water, you can see that side of the picture. That means because they grow on the seashore or in the delta region where the river meets the sea. So in such an area, salt water is more. That is why, in order to purify the water in the plant body itself, such kind of modification for gaseous exchange is made in the roots called pneumatophores. And then the stem, you know the different parts of the stem. This is the nodal region, and this is one more node. The region between two nodes is called as internode, right? The axillary buds are there, right? So from where the leaves and other branches of the stem can be arising. This is the basic structure. And then modification of the stem for various purposes. Modification of the stem for maybe storage. Even in the case of the root also, storage roots are there. I have not put the diagram or the picture because you already know the carrot, you know, beetroot, you know, right? So and even the the radish also, you know, which are all the different types of root modification for storage purpose, right? That you need to remember. And now here we are seeing the modification of the stem for various purposes. Here you are seeing the stolon. Okay, stolon in the case of the jasmine or mint, pudina. In that case, of course, I am going to show the next picture, the stolon clearly. Here you just see the adventitious roots growing from the rhizome. Rhizome means what? Rhizome, it is a root-like structure produced in Zingiberaceae. Zingiberaceae family means it is nothing but in which one? Turmeric. Right? Or even in the case of the ginger, right? And tuber, this is potato. Tuber of potato, this is the underground root modification, stem modification. This is the underground stem modification. So from the stem, you can see the roots growing, and those roots which are growing from other part of the plant body, other than the radicle, are called as adventitious roots. That is why they have labeled them as adventitious roots. So this is tuber and this is called corm, right? As we see in the case of Amorphophallus or Suvarnagadde anta kariteve alva. So the same pictures they have been given here. Stolon you ignore now. See, rhizome in ginger, tuber of potato and corm of Amorphophallus, right? So these are the modification of the stem mainly for storage purpose, underground modification of the stem, right? Moving forward, this is the modification of the stem for mechanical support. This is called stem tendril. See, stem tendril and leaf tendril, there is a difference. You can see from the axil. Axil means it is the region between the leaf base and the axis of the stem. ಈ ಎರಡರ ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿರುವಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಆಂಗಲ್ಗೆ ನಾವು axil ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೇವೆ. So from that axil, if the bud of the axil or axillary bud is modified to form the tendril, then in that case it will be called as a stem tendril. In this case you are seeing, instead of the leaf, ಇಲ್ಲಿ leaf ಇದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂಡ leaf ಬರಬೇಕಾಗಿತ್ತು, but instead of the leaf, what is being produced here? So the tendril is being produced. This is called leaf tendril, this is called stem tendril. Remember the difference. Tendrils can be produced by the modification of the leaf also and by the modification of the stem also. Keep that in mind, right? So for climbing purpose, because in the case of the pea plant, in the case of the any other, even this modification gloriosa superba ಅಥವಾ ಗೌರಿ ಹೂವು ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೇವೆ ನಾವು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ. So in that case you can see the modification of the leaf into the tendril. In the case of the pea plant, in the grapevine also you can see the modification of the stem into tendril. So this is a pole, bamboo pole ಇದೆ, ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಸುತ್ತಕೊಂಡು ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ತಗೊಂಡು ಮೇಲೆ ಬೆಳೀತಾ ಇದೆ. So modification of the stem into what? The thorn. In the case of duranta means in the garden they usually if there is a path in the garden, on both sides of this path the hedge plants, the borderline plants what we grow, that is called duranta. In that you can see the thorns which have been produced at the axil. So once again the stem modification to produce the thorn. Here in the case of the citrus also you can see the thorns being produced right at the axil. Okay, so these are the examples of modification of the stem for protection purpose, right? Or you can say self defense. See, sucker in banana, I had told you, for perennation, modification of the stem for perennation or for vegetative propagation, as we see in the case of banana. So this is a part of the stem, underground stem, which grows obliquely upwards. Yes, so this is what is called a sucker in banana. This also can be seen in the chrysanthemum, sevantige. It is very important for you to remember the examples. I have already mentioned that, right? And stolons in mint or jasmine. Stolon means a part of the stem which is under the ground. It grows obliquely upwards and it forms a arc-like structure, and once again it reaches the soil, from where it gives rise to a new plant body. Right, that is what is called as stolon, right? And other two, in the case of the grasses it is called runner. In the case of the grasses also, and even in the case of the oxalis also, it is called runner. See, this is a stem, it branches out here and once again a new plant body is produced. So stem, a branch of the stem under the, just below the ground, that is called subaerial. ಒಂದೇ ಲೇಯರ್ ಸಾಯಿಲ್ ನ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಇರುವಂತದ್ದು. Okay, so that is once again producing a new plant body. So new roots are being produced, a new plant body is being produced. And similar structure you can see in the water bodies or water plants or hydrophytes such as Eichhornia. You can see this is one plant, this is producing a tuft of roots, a bunch of roots is being produced. This is one more plant body. So the stem of this one, a branch of the stem of this one, you can see this structure, this is called as offset. Okay, that grows here, and this is one node, this is internode. At another node it produces a new plant body. Okay, so these are the modification of the stem for vegetative propagation or for perennation, right? Remember the examples. Now moving towards the leaf, you already know the structure of the leaf, different parts of the leaf. The petiole means it is the stalk of the leaf, right? From the node the leaf arises. The small leaf-like structures present at the leaf base, they are called as stipules. The blade or leaf lamina, and there will be the midrib, veins and veinlets will be there. So all that. You can also see the smaller incisions on the blade, and this is the leaf apex or leaf tip. And here, see this diagram as mentioned in the textbook. And here we will see the venation in the leaves. There are two different types of venations we will see. One is called as reticulate venation and other is called as parallel venation. Reticulate venation means what? Network like structures because of the spreading of various veins and veinlets on the leaf blade. Right? In haphazardous way, they overlap on each other in a random fashion, and they form a network of these veins and veinlets, and that is what is called as reticulate venation. Venation, definition of the venation is very important. Arrangement of the veins and veinlets on the leaf lamina or leaf blade is called as venation, and this is what the types. So this is reticulate, this is parallel. This reticulate can be observed commonly in the case of the dicot plants. This can be observed. The parallel venation is commonly observed in the monocot plant, right? So moving forward, see the types of leaves, that is a simple leaf and compound leaf. Simple leaf, you know, there is no incision. Even if there is an incision like this, if that cut or incision, if it is not reaching up to the midrib, then in that case also it is a simple leaf, right? This is a simple leaf, and here this is entire one leaf which has been incised to reach to the midrib, forming many leaflets. And in the case of the compound leaf, there are two different types. One is pinnately compound leaf and other is palmately compound leaf. So Alstonia, as mentioned in the textbook, the example Alstonia, this picture I have taken Alstonia of plant only. This picture has been taken from the Alstonia plant only. Alstonia plant, it's a good example for palmately compound leaf. Remember that example. So you can see all the leaflets are arising from one common point. So here from one midrib, they arise on both sides of the midrib, all along the midrib. This is pinnately compound, this is palmately compound leaf. Next, see here, phyllotaxy. What is the definition of phyllotaxy? Yes, arrangement of the leaves on the axis of the stem. It is called phyllotaxy. Three different types of phyllotaxy you have learned in this chapter. Which are those? Alternate, opposite and whorled phyllotaxy. See, alternate means here one node is there, here one node and node. So if this node is having the leaf on this side, the next node will have the leaf on the opposite side, and this one on this side and this one on that side. Alternate phyllotaxy. Whereas opposite phyllotaxy, in the case of opposite phyllotaxy, each node will have two leaves in opposite directions like this. In the case of whorled phyllotaxy, we will have a whorl or a circle of the leaves at one common node like this, right? And it is also important for you to remember the examples for this. Now, leaf modifications. First one for storage. In the case of onion, you are seeing onion diagram. This is the garlic diagram, onion, garlic. These are called fleshy leaves of onion and garlic. There are two different types of modifications in onion and garlic. In the same structure, you will see two types of leaf modifications. You have seen the paper-like outermost layer in the onion. In the case of onion, the outer layer will be just paper-like. That is called scaly leaf. Even in the case of the garlic also, that is called scaly leaf. Once you remove that, you will see juicy leaf-like structure. The fleshy leaf-like structure. They are the fleshy leaves which will store the food products, both in the case of the onion and garlic. So you can see the pictures here, right? Then moving towards next one. Here, leaf modifications for mechanical support. This was for food storage. This is for mechanical support. Leaf tendrils, as in the case of the grape, and cladophylls. Right? Here, the leaves have been modified to produce small thorn-like structures. Then what is this green structure we are seeing? That is the modified stem. This is in the case of the cactus. This is called opentia. Okay, see, I've got opentia, I've got the cactus here in our lab. So I think you can see here, see this structure. You can see the green structure, what you are seeing is the modified stem. The stem has been modified into a green structure like this, which is actually performing the photosynthesis. Because leaves have been modified into thorns for the protection purpose. You cannot touch this easily because very sharp thorns are there. Okay, leaf modified into thorn-like structures, they are called as cladophylls. The leaves modified into thorn-like structures on this, they are called as cladophylls. The stem, which is modified into a green leaf-like structure, very spongy, fleshy leaf-like structure, which will carry out the photosynthesis and also stores the water and food in a large quantity, that is called as cladode. The stem is cladode and leaf is called cladophyll, right? So this can be the best example for the stem modification and leaf modification. Why this modification is there in this is to store the water and food for a long period, because these plants, they grow on soil that is devoid of water, in the sandy soil, right? So usually when they grow in the desert, the rain will be very scanty, rainfall is very scanty, okay, and in order to retain the water in the plant body for a longer duration, they have got this kind of modification. Anyway, you are going to learn this in the further chapters later, right? Moving towards the next slide. Inflorescence. The two types of inflorescence you have learned. You know the definition of inflorescence. It's a bunch of the flowers produced on the axis of the stem, which has been modified to form the floral axis. So racemose and cymose are the two types of inflorescence. Here, these diagrams, these schematic diagrams, they are showing the acropetal succession in the case of racemose, basipetal succession in the case of cymose. You know what is acropetal and basipetal? Acropetal means the older flowers are at the bottom and younger flowers are at the top. Basipetal succession means the oldest flower is at the top and the main axis will end with a flower, and that is why this has got the limited growth and younger flowers will be at the bottom. Whereas in this case, there is no flower produced at the tip. The end is free, the apex is free, it still grows forward. The main axis of the inflorescence keeps on growing forward, right? So that the number of the flowers can be produced innumerably on this, but here this is the definite or limited number of the flowers can be produced on this one, right? And we will see the pictures of the different types of inflorescence here. So here you are seeing the racemose inflorescence. These are the diagrams. Here in the case of racemose inflorescence, you are seeing the acropetal succession and the apex of the inflorescence axis is not covered by a flower. In the case of cymose inflorescence, you are seeing the eldest flower or the oldest flower is produced at the tip, and so that it is stopped. The main axis, growth of the main axis is stopped, right? This is cymose inflorescence, that is racemose inflorescence. Example, bougainvillea, this is the kind of cymose inflorescence, and this one, clerodendrum, rathapushpa anta kariteve kannadadalli, this is the best example for the racemose inflorescence. Okay, and this one, all of you are very familiar with this particular flower, hibiscus, or it's also called as China rose. This is single flower produced. This is called solitary cyme. This is the kind of cymose inflorescence. What kind of cymose? Because only one flower is produced. Solitary means single. This is called solitary cyme. Okay, hibiscus. Next one, flower. Classification of the flower based on the symmetry. Three different types. Actinomorphic. That means you can divide or you can cut the flower into two equal halves in any plane. Okay, so you cut it in any way, it will become two equal parts. That is called actinomorphic flower. Okay, zygomorphic means you can cut this flower in only single plane, right? So that is called zygomorphic flower, and so this is called radial symmetry, bilateral symmetry, and asymmetric flower, or it's also called as amorphic flower. I had told you there is one single example for this called canna, C-A-N-N-A. Remember the example for this, canna. Okay, so the canna flower looks like this. You might have seen in the gardens, right? Canna. So these are the classification of the flower based on what? Symmetry. Now next one, we are seeing classification of the flower based on the number of appendages present, such as trimerous, tetramerous and pentamerous. You can count the number of the petals or sepals here. There are 3 petals, these are 4 petals, these are 5 petals. Usually the number of the petals will be always mostly equal to the number of sepals in all the flowers, right? Next one, classification of flowers based on the position of the ovary: hypogynous flower, epigynous flower, perigynous flower. In the case of hypogynous, what is the meaning of hypo? Below. Gynous stands for gynosium. The flower is present below the gynosium means what? The ovary is above, or the gynosium is above. That ovary is superior ovary, right? In the case of perigynous, the flower is position of the ovary is half inferior or half superior, right? So that is why this is called perigynous flower. And in this case, epi stands for above, gynous above the gynosium. That means gynosium is below the other whorls of the flower. You can see the calyx, corolla, androecium, gynosium are being produced from above the gynosium. This is the ovary, right? That is why it is called inferior ovary. Here you can see the ovary present above all. That means these are all produced from the base of the ovary. Ovary is above all of them. That is why superior ovary. This is inferior ovary. So this is neither superior nor inferior. It is called as, what flower is called? Perigynous flower. Next one, classification, not classification, the calyx. When you look at the calyx, it can be either polysepalous or gamosepalous. Polysepalous means free sepals, right? Gamosepalous means fused like this. You can see until the base, they are all free. The sepals are completely free. But here, they are fused. They are not free at the base, right? And here polypetalous, each petal, if you pluck one petal, one entire petal will be completely separated from the flower. Whereas in this case, these are all fused petals, that is gamopetalous condition. You need to remember the examples that I have mentioned in the class. Moving forward, see aestivation, how many different types? The 4 different types of aestivation you have learnt. The which one? This first one is valvate, then the twisted, then the imbricate and vexillary aestivation. So this is how it can be observed in the budded condition of a flower, right? This is also, the diagrams also are very important, and especially this vexillary aestivation may be asked to explain in the examination for 2 or 3 marks along with the diagram, right? And individually all of these can be asked for 1 or 2 marks, right? And you should also know the examples for each of them appropriately. Moving towards next one, here stamen, that is the androecium, right? After calyx and corolla, we are moving towards the androecium here. So androecium, attachment of the androecium with each other can be forming only single bundle, that is called as monoadelphous condition. This, do you remember in which flower is this? In hibiscus. See, you can see all the stamens arising from one common axis. So the filaments, you know, here this is the filament, this is the anther. So anthers are free and filaments of all the anthers, they are fused together, right, forming a single bundle. That is called monoadelphous condition. And in this case, in the case of pea, right, pea plant, in this case one filament is different, that means it is single, and other 9 they are fused together to form one more bundle. This is one bundle, this is one more bundle, forming 2 bundles entirely. 9 plus 1 condition I have told you, and this is called diadelphous condition because they are forming the 2 bundles. Then polyadelphous condition means what? Forming more than 1 bundle, right? You can see from the receptacle itself, many bundles of the stamens are arising. They are forming more than 2 or 3 bundles. That is why it is called as polyadelphous condition. Example is citrus, right? That is lemon. Okay, this is about the androecium, right? And the attachment of the androecium onto the petals is called as epipetalous condition. I have not put a picture here. And the attachment of the androecium onto the perianth will be called as epiphyllous condition. What is perianth? Fusion of petals and sepals, or calyx and corolla is called as perianth. Okay, the appendages of the perianth are called as tepals. This can be important question, remember. Moving towards the next one, gynosium. Here you are seeing the parts of the carpel or the structure of the carpel showing the stigma, style and ovary. I have already explained you the function of each of them, right? And this is the base from on which all the four whorls of the flower arising from. So this is called as a receptacle, or it's also called as thalamus. Now this you can see, when the carpel is one, no problem. When there are more than one carpels, if there are two, it is called bicarpellary condition. 3, tricarpellary. Okay, more than 3, maybe multicarpellary condition. When more than one carpel is present, it can be free or it can be fused. You are seeing the examples here. This is called syncarpous condition, when multicarpellary condition is there. So many such structures are there, but all of them are fused to form syncarpous ovary, fused structures. Whereas on this axis you are seeing many carpels are there, but all of them are free. That is called as apocarpous condition. Syncarpous ovary, apocarpous ovary. Okay, remember the terminologies. And these are all different types of placentations. I have already explained you what is placentation. There is a smooth cushion like tissue, right, which is present inside this ovary, and you are seeing there's some green tissue there. That is the placenta, and on that placenta the ovules are attached within the ovary, and attachment or arrangement or the pattern of arrangement of the ovules on the placenta is called as placentation. And here we find 5 different types of placentation as per your syllabus. That is marginal placentation, axial placentation, parietal, precentral and basal. Remember the examples for each of these appropriately. Okay, so marginal placentation, which example you can give? Pea plant, or even the beans you can give. Axial placentation, you can give the example of tomato, hibiscus, and also which one? The cotton flower. Parietal placentation, dianthus, right? I hope so. And free central, primrose. Basal placentation, which one? The sunflower, marigold, etc. Right? This is about the gynosium. Then about the fruits. See, the same example as mentioned in the textbook I have taken. So this kind of fruit will be called as a drupe, right? So drupe, berry, different types of fruits are there. So this type of fruit is called as a drupe. I have already told you what is a drupe. It develops from a single ovary. Development will be from a single ovary, or monocarpellary, syncarpous ovary, or monocarpellary means it is syncarpous, no question of syncarpous or apocarpous. And it is a superior ovary, right? So such condition will develop into the drupe. Right? So what is fruit technically? It is a mature fertilized ovary, right? And in that the entire wall of the fruit will be called as pericarp, which can be classified into exocarp, mesocarp and endocarp. Here in mango you can see the exocarp, which is the outer skin, mesocarp, the fleshy, juicy, edible part of the mango. Endocarp is formed by what? The hard stone like seed. Whereas in the case of the coconut, you can see the green outermost covering, which will later become brown after maturity. That is the exocarp, right? And the next brown fibrous like structure, that is the mesocarp, or the hard layer also. Chippu ante kariತೀವಿ, that is the mesocarp, right? And the endocarp is the edible part, which is the white part, that is the seed. Then here you see the seed, right? Monocot seed and dicot seed, you can see this is the main axis of the embryo, right? And there are 2 cotyledons, and both of these cotyledons are covered by 2 layers of seed coat. Outer seed coat and inner seed coat, testa and tegmen respectively. Outer testa and inner tegmen. Okay, so the 2 cotyledons will store large amount of the food material, which will be sufficient for the development of the embryo, right? So during the germination of the embryo, that will be helping, right? In the case of dicot, we will see 2 different types of the seeds based on the presence or absence of the endosperm, endospermous seeds and non-endospermous seeds. So examples you should remember. For non-endospermous, which example you can remember? For non-endospermous, pepper you can remember, endospermous, pepper you can remember. For non-endospermous, you can remember the example of, I think, pea, right? That can be the example. For monocotyledonous seed, you are seeing there is a single cotyledon. So this single cotyledon will be called as scutellum. Okay, what is scutellum can be an important one more question. And there is a huge large part of the seed will be covered by the endosperm. See, these pictures are showing the vertical section. The seed has been cut from up to down, right, from top to bottom. So such structures you are going to see. So this is the maize seed. This can be seed of any dicot plant. So you need to remember the different parts of the seed, and you should remember this diagram very importantly. This is a very important diagram for 5 marks. You should also know how to explain the various different parts of this, right? So until here we have completed in the class now, and in the next session I am going to talk about the floral formula and floral diagram, and also about 2 different families. Thank you.